Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So I just watched Jingle Jangle on Netflix. Let's talk about it. So Jingle Jangle is a Netflix Christmas movie that is directed by David E. Talbot. Now, this film has been long in the running. He's been working on this film for about 20 years, as I read. And honestly, it's just a miracle. Like, it's a miracle that this film exists. It's a miracle that we're able to watch this on Netflix. I honestly think that this film is a Christmas miracle because, wow. I remember watching the trailer for this film for the very first time and just being in awe. What an incredible, joyous production. Like, it's just so full of Christmas spirit, so full of holiday cheer, and it's again exactly what we need this time of year, especially on this year of all years, because as I said during my review of Dash and Lily, after the the mess that 2020 has been, we all could use a little bit of Christmas cheer, and I think that this film has that in spades. So we're going to be going through my thoughts on Jingle Jangle during this video, but just know that this is going to be a non-spoiler review, because if you haven't already checked out this film, and perhaps you haven't, because once again it's coming out quite early considering we're only halfway through November, and this is very much a Christmas film that could be enjoyed on Christmas Day. So if you haven't checked it out yet, then just know that there aren't going to be any spoilers during this review. And before we dive into the review itself, just a friendly little reminder that if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can be told when I upload next. Now, without further ado, let's dive right into this. Now, this film is truly visionary and is truly one of a kind, because we have here the epitome of a family holiday film, the epitome of a Christmas story, but this time featuring an almost entirely black cast. It's pretty much the first of its kind. We don't see films like this that feature almost an entirely black cast. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible to see that this year, I mean, if there's anything that's going to go right, this year we've seen so many diverse stories be told, and to add a Christmas story in there with a black cast is just mwah. I absolutely love to see it, and I'm so pleased to say that it was executed so well, because here you have a story that is completely devoid of, you know, discussions about race. It's not about racism strictly, okay? This isn't a film about slavery. It's not a film about, you know, the civil rights movement or anything of the sort. It's literally just this fantastical imaginary Christmas story that is just so beautifully executed. It's full of magic, it's full of wonder, it's perfect for this season for everyone to enjoy, but it just so happens to feature some incredibly talented black actors and dancers and singers. And speaking of the cast themselves, we also have a few heavy hitters here that definitely deliver in this film. We have Forrest Whitaker, Ricky Martin, who's amazing. He's amazing in his role as that tiny little matador character. Truly genius. He absolutely delivered in that role. You also have Anika Noni Rose, who voices the one, the only Princess Tiana. When I heard her voice, I was like, oh my god, it's my queen. It's my queen, Princess Tiana. I was so happy to see her here. And we have Keegan-Michael Key portraying the villain. I thought he was excellent as this film's villain. Truly, he exuded malice. He was so deliciously evil. He was eating up that role. Honestly, everyone was just having such a fun time with their role, but especially him. He was an excellent villain for this story, and everyone was doing such a great job in their roles. They fully committed here. And at the end of the day, because this is a family film, because you do have a younger audience in mind, they still had that playfulness to their performances. It felt like everyone just wanted kids to have such a fun time watching this film, and it very much exuded that throughout with everyone's performances, including the kids themselves. And as a result, it just felt like you were having a fun time with them, and you were having a fun time with the story. We also had a couple of newcomers front and center, including Madeline Mills, who portrays Jenny, who's kind of the main character of the whole story. She was phenomenal. She was absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness, the talent. Oh my goodness, the talent of this girl. She could dance, she could sing, she could act. I mean, there was clearly some sort of theatrical training there, and in fact the whole film very much feels like a theatre performance, so that 100% would make sense as she stems from a theatre background. But the talent involved here was just incredible. Absolutely loved the interactions between her and Forest Whitaker's grandpa Jay. The way that she interacted with him just felt so genuine and real. She was able to fully deliver on those touching, emotional moments whilst at the same time still being a kid, still being a young character, and fully just being enveloped in this mystical, magical world of inventions. Another thing that I particularly enjoyed about this film that really made it stand out to me was the hair, makeup, costume, production design. Wow, this film does not look cheap. This film looks like Netflix spent a pretty penny on it, and every single coin is visible on screen because it looks lavish, it looks exquisite, it looks just beautiful. It's like oozing with holiday cheer. It's so incredible aesthetically. I absolutely love the costumes. I love the way that they kind of interwove these traditional Victorian aspects of the costumes whilst at the same time having, you know, very Christmassy, you know, holiday inspired costumes. But then you have that added element of Afrocentrism being embedded in there. You have some African cloths being used as part of the costumes as well. I thought that was excellently done. And when I was reading up about the production itself afterwards, because I was invested, I was literally like, how did this come about? And I found out that the director wanted to embed those, you know, Afrocentric visuals in this film. He called it a sort of Afro-Victorianism, which I found fascinating. That as a result, you have these steampunk Victorian visuals in there mixed in with some Afrocentrism to create something that is just wholly unique and novel. As for the hair specifically, I also love that creative decision that they made to make sure that each and every one of these black female characters kept their natural hair. They kept the natural texture of their hair and they just styled it in these, you know, magical, mystical ways. I just found all of these different hairstyles to be so creative and again so unique because they didn't try to make these hairstyles Eurocentric in any way. They embraced the fact that they were dealing with Afro-Caribbean hair. They decided to style it in ways that would fit into this quirky, magical, you know, steampunk Afro-Victorian world. Closely following the visuals themselves, we of course have the music. Now, considering the fact that this is a musical, the music very much plays an important part of telling this story. I have to say that whilst I very much enjoyed the music in this film, and as I was watching it, it very much made sense to the story being told. It added something to every scene, and it very much felt like a production. It very much felt like this huge production that honestly could have been seen in cinema. It's very unfortunate that we weren't able to get a theatrical release for this one because I think it would have just been an incredible experience. Just absolutely magical. It would have enhanced the magic that we already see on our smaller screens. But still, I have to say that there were certain songs that stood out to me more than others. I have to say that Keegan-Michael Key's number was incredible. You'll know it when you see it. It's so catchy. Okay, he killed that performance. It was just so infectious. It was just so deliciously evil. I absolutely loved it. I also very much loved Ricky Martin's performance at the beginning of the film as that, again, Matador. So good. That song was so good. The Borrowing Indefinitely, wow. But there are other songs in there. I would say that there is a bit of a shortage of songs that are specifically about Christmas, at least from what I can remember. Perhaps, you know, the lyrics had, you know, Christmas embedded in there or the holidays embedded in there in general, but I can't quite remember many songs that were specifically about that time of year. But anyways, I mean, we have John Legend as a producer here, so who am I to say anything about the music? But I wouldn't say that it's quite at the catchiness and infectiousness level as, say, The Greatest Showman, where every single song in that film was a bop. Every single song in The Greatest Showman was just instant classic, you know, so catchy. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say that I feel the same way about some of the songs in this one. But still, even though I wasn't instantly enamored by every single song in this film, I still think the music overall plays such an important part of, again, injecting that Afro to the Afro-Victorianism that the director wanted, because the beats that we have here, we even have a hint of Afro beats in here. It's just so refreshing. It's so incredible to hear and to see. It just makes this film so unique. I mean, truly, it makes all the difference when you have that, you know, steampunk Afro-Victorianism in mind and you're trying to set out what it means to have this world and how it would stand apart from other Christmas stories. It makes all the difference when you're injecting in some, you know, Afro beats and some R&B and hip hop music in there. And last but not least, we have the story itself. And overall, I very much enjoyed the story, the journey that we were taken on throughout this film. I will say, if I'm I'm being a little bit nitpicky, I did prefer the first half of this film and the way that that was written out, how it was really able to just excellently, brilliantly establish these characters and their backstory and the reason why they reach the point that they're at when we meet them in the present day. Loved exploring the dynamics within the Jangle family, and I think that's established very, very well in the first half of the film. I would say that in the second half is where things start to fall apart a little bit, where we start to dive into the magical mathematical mechanics. It's very much a lot of, you know, magical maths kind of whizzing around in the air, a beautiful mind style even. It's fine, except a lot of what they're saying is like mumbo jumbo, like it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. You definitely have to dispel your sense of disbelief for a moment there, because it's a kid's film, so you know, magic, science, it's all one and the same, as Thor would say. But still, I would say that the second half is just a little bit bumpy and just a tiny bit convoluted with the mission that they ultimately end up going on. But ultimately, I still think that it makes for a great film overall. And even when we do have those moments where the reasoning behind what's going on screen is a little bit questionable. The characters are just so likable and the actors are just so charismatic, and they're clearly having the time of their life on set, that you end up just having great enjoyment from it still. And actually, as my final point, I did also want to mention the excellent animation that we have on display here, because there are animated elements throughout the film as they're telling the story, and it is just beautifully done. I found it to be so distinct, and that's my thing with animation. I liked distinct animation that really stands out in a story, and I think they did that so well here. And it also adds to my thesis. It also adds to my theory that Netflix spent a ton of money on this one, because it does not look cheap. Like, the animation is done so well, so is the CG. I definitely feel like all the money that they spent is going on screen, and it's absolutely brilliant. It definitely pays off, and it adds to this feeling that this film very much feels like an instant classic. So with all of that being said, I am delighted to be giving Jingle Jangle a 7.5 out of 10. So that's it from me. Now that I told you guys my thoughts on Jingle Jangle, it's time for you guys to let me know what you thought of this film down in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel to catch new videos coming up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!